Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. We got a really fun video today, right? This is inspired by a post on the Raid Shadow Legends subreddit by Justin Larson one day ago. He said, I just 6-starred my 100th champion and I circled the ones I use with any regularity. And the thing that really surprised me when I looked at his list was how few of these champions he actually really uses, which I think is really interesting, and I want to do this too. So we're going to go through all of my champions, and I actually have over 100. I think I've got something like 130, 140 or so rares, epics, legendaries that I have up at 6-star. And let's talk about which ones were good and which ones were just terrible, right? What I've done, I've put them all together here, as you can see, in a big old Photoshop document. We're going to blitz through it. I'm going to say maybe a sentence or two about each champion, where I use them, or how they disappointed me. And I invite you guys to join along as well. And you can share your results in the Discord channel, my Discord channel. You can find the link in the description down below. So go into the Discord and you can post your results in the general chat. I'm going to do like a 3-type scoring method. Green tick means a champion I use all the time. A yellow strike means a champion I used to use all the time, but don't use anymore. And then I'm going to give a red cross. I'm going to be a little bit harsh here. Red cross is either a champion that's a complete disappointment, I never use them, or a champion that was really, replaceable, that I might have used them a little bit at one point, but it could have been kind of anyone. They were just sort of there for the sake of it. They didn't contribute anything important. So that's my scoring method. All right, ready, steady, let's go. Mithrala Lifebane all the time in Arena and for Hydra, really good. First red X is going to be Vlad. Never used him anywhere. Oh, also should note, I'm not going to include Faction Wars. For example, Vlad is amazing for Faction Wars. We're not including that here because then it'd be too many green ticks. We want to be harsh. We want to insult these champions. Green tick for Romantu all the time in Arena. He is amazing. Yeah, Carl actually does get a strike through. He was part of my Dark Fae team for a good while, but I don't use him anymore. Vizik's actually going to get a strike through as well. Amazing champion for Doom Tower hard progression. Check out my budget-friendly team for clearing through Doom Tower hard. Don't use her anymore, though. We've got a green tick for Euros. Use him to solo the Scarab. Green tick for Lydia, just one of the best champions in the game. I use her all the time, everywhere. Green tick for Tormin. Use him in Arena all the time. Green tick for Krisk. Probably best champion in the game for Hydra. I use him in Doom Tower hard as well. Arbiter, green tick. The Voids are getting lots of green ticks. Use her all the time in Arena. Here we go. Another cross. Krutraxa, never really used her anywhere. Ethos, big tick for Ethos. Probably he is, in fact, my most used champion. Campaign farmer, Minotaur farmer, Potion Keep farmer. He is amazing. Red X for Baron. I use him some stuff for fun, but he's pretty terrible. Actually going to give a green tick to Deliana, believe it or not. I'm going to do a video on where I actually use her on my account soon. It's not Hydra, so it might surprise you, though I will use her in Hydra in the future. Green tick for Mother Cybele. Amazing champion for Hydra, really good. Big disappointment here for me was Versulf the Grim. I actually think Versulf is a really good champion. He's great. He does need to be booked up, though. And he just was never useful for me on my account. My theory was to use him for Magma Dragon with his Provoke, but his Provoke is a really bad chance, so he's just really not good. Helior, I tried to make work in Arena, and he needs to be booked. I think he was okay, but I replaced him very quickly. I'm actually going to be harsh and give him a red cross. Big green tick for Yoshi, one of my favorite champions. He is amazing. I use him all the time in Arena, and I used to use him all the time in Doom Tower hard. Not currently using him, but he's super good. Sissia up next, green tick, Hydra and Spider 25. Brachus, I'm actually going to give Brachus the yellow strike through. I used him for a long time in a cheesy anti-arbiter, anti-speed team in Arena where we'd go second, he would die, revive and give everyone increased attack. Was actually quite useful. Thea I have used, but never for anything substantial on my account, so I'm going to give her the red cross. I'm going to give a green tick to Drexthar. I do use him for some bosses like Griffin. Yeah, I had to think about that. I do use him sometimes for Hydra. He's definitely not as used as some of these other champions, but I do use him. Robar, I've just built, but and to be fair, I use him right now for the Arena Champions of 4 different affinities mission, but that's not enough for me to give him a mark. Razin, I'm going to give him a yellow strike through. Used to use him in Clan Boss. Haven't used him in probably over a year. Black Knight, I actually use to farm Magma Dragon. He's great for that. Gaius, use him all the time. All the time. He is amazing. What a champion. What a champion. Unfortunately, Operdin gets a cross. I think he's a great healer, but I don't actually use him on my account. Same thing for Alexander. Don't actually use him. on my account. I'm going to give a yellow strike to Sigmund. He's amazing. I use him in some Hydra teams, but only some. I don't use him every single rotation. So I'm going to give him just the strike through because I'm not using him in any current teams, I don't think. Ninja, big tick. Use him for several Doom Tower bosses. Use him for Hydra. He is absolutely fantastic. Herndig, amazing champion. Never used him really anywhere. I used him temporarily in my Dark Fae team, but he was quickly replaced. He's not booked on my account, so I don't really use him. Brogni, God tier. Use him pretty much everywhere. Again, kind of like Lydia, he just crops up in teams all over the place. He's fantastic. Jin Toro, I actually think he's fairly mediocre. I use him in a Bat Eater comp. He's really good for that, but that's about it. Never used Astralon anywhere. Never used Pixneal anywhere. Literally never used Narma for anything. Ever. Not even, like, I've used both of these for some stuff. Narma, terrible. I think she was in my first Night Revenant faction war clear as a bit of a healer, and that's it. She sucks. She absolutely terrible champion. Next up, Sylve the Drakes. Don't really use her anywhere much at the moment, but I obviously used her in tons of teams. She was very, very crucial, but not really used too much for me right now, but she was big. Foley, absolutely fantastic. Arena Nuker. I'm going to give the yellow mark to Lanakis. I used to use her all the time in Arena as a second speed booster. Great champion, but I don't use her right now. This is kind of a funny one. Hackworn for me, I'm going to give him... I have to be fair. I have to give him the yellow mark. He was like my first cleanser I ever pulled on the account. I think he was my third legendary, so I did use him all the time. I did use him all the time back then, but he fell off a long time ago, and I don't use him since. Big cross for this guy. Yeah, sorry, Elton. Just never used him much for anything. He was sort of temporarily in my Eternal Dragon team. He temporarily showed up, but very, very replaceable. Same thing, yellow strike through here for Sathalia. She's a good champion. She was my second legendary. First one was Tomb Lord. Second legendary. She's a really great healer and buff stripper, so I used her a ton when I started out the game. But again, I haven't used her really for much in a long time. Elenarl, one of my favorite champions. Use her all over the place. Poison Explosion, speed farming dungeons, level 25. Great champion for that. Norog, really bad champion. He needs a big buff. I think he got buffed, and I still think he's terrible. I used him a small bit in Hydra, but honestly, like Ugo as an epic champion completely supersedes him. She's just way better. Kymar, does it need to be said? Green tick. Use him everywhere. Arena, Doom Tower hard, speed farming dungeons, amazing. Lord Champfort, never used him. I built him up as a mischief tank, but he needs books. Never used him. Bivald actually gets the green tick. He's great for Hydra. Locks down and provokes the Head of Decay. And he also heals your team a lot. He's fantastic. Next up we've got, oh man, I'm trying to think Tatura. I'm actually going to give Tatura a red X. I don't think he's a great champion. He's really good. But I've never used him for anything that matters. Never use him for anything that matters. Same thing with Raf Matab. He's got great stuff. I'm going to try work on some stuff with him, but as of yet, I've never used him in anything. I'm going to give a green tick to Archbishop. Really big fan of Archbishop. In some Hydra rotations, he's absolutely amazing as that green affinity block buff champion that also does a ton of healing for your team. Really, really like him. Cleopteryx, I've never used her for anything, though I think she's a really good champion post buff. Just for me, already have Ethos built out, so I don't super need her. Ruel, never used him for anything. Iron Brago, I'm going to give a yellow strike through. I used Iron Brago for a while in like Arena. And while in Ice Golem, but that's about it. I haven't used him at all in a really, really long time. I'm actually going to give a green tick to Yannicka. I use her quite a bit for Hydra. She's great, especially for normal and hard difficulty, just for slamming out the damage. She's actually pretty cool for that. Nodgar, unfortunately, I'm going to give him a red cross right now. I've been trying to make him useful, but it's kind of hard to make him useful. He's fun, but he's just not really essential at all. Shamrock, actually fantastic for Hydra. He's super good. Use him all the time. We've got Lord Shazar. Use him in Arena, and he's really good for Arena. Mortu, really, really good for Arena as well. And then Tomb Lord, great for dungeon speed farming, and even soloing dungeons as well, though I don't do that. Right, so they are all the legendaries. Whoo boy. All right, let's make another layer. Let's reflect. We look at the legendaries. I think it's quite a mix, actually, isn't it? Like, I think at a quick glance, there's a lot of red X's. There is actually a lot of red X's, a lot of legendaries I built up and really didn't need to build up. I could have not built any of those red X's, and my account would have been pretty much just fine. Good chunk of green, though, as well. I think we're doing well in the green. Right, let's dive into the epics then. Ready, steady, here we go. Demitha, use her all the time in Arena, and good for Hydra as well. Eurogrim, I do use him for Ice Golem for speed farming teams. Aboro, lover for Hydra, so good. Godseeker and Eerie, same thing, use her all the time in Hydra. Ursula, I'm not using anywhere right now. I haven't for a little while, but she is great for Hydra. Really worth talking about. Obviously, big ticks for Shamail. Use him all the time, constantly in Hydra. I'm going to give actually a green tick to Skytouch Shaman. I do use her as a cleanser for Arena. Situational, but useful. I could, to be fair, I probably should build up the big Skinwalker dude. This guy. I probably should build up Hackhorn. He would be probably better, but right now, Skytouched takes the lead. We've got a Red X for Gala, Faction Wars, that's literally it. I'm going to put the yellow strike through on Berdal. Good for Hydra, but I don't need him anymore. Now that I've got a Boro built up, I use her instead. I'm going to give the green tick to... actually, no, I'm going to give a yellow strike through to Umbral. I use her sometimes in Hydra, but not always. I've got lots of other block buff champions right now, and they do a good job. Golden Reaper I have never actually used for anything. I could build her for some speed stuff for Arena, but at the point I'm at in the game right now, we need champions with more utility than simply going first. Basher, never used him for anything. He's really good for Arena, but again, I've just never got around to building him for it, so he gets the Red X. Sylar, amazing champion, really good champion. Red X, never used her for anything, but she's really good. Okay, I use Skull Crown for farming Doom Tower. No, to be fair, I use her for Doom Tower normal, so I'm not going to give her a point for that. But she used to be on my Arena teams and really good for that. Seer, I do use not half as much as most people, though. I use her for like potion keeps, and I use her for... what else do I use her for? I use her for speed farming some level 20 dungeons. She's fine. She's really not essential, though. I think people... Like, she's obviously great. She's a great champion. She's completely overpowered, but I don't use her that much. I'm going to give her the yellow thing. I could totally do without her. I could easily replace her everywhere, but I do, you know what? No, I do use her, to be fair. I'll give her the green tick. Okay, Maneater, green ticks for him. Thylesia, have yet to use her. I've only built her recently, though, and I think she can be great. So I'm going to, unfortunately, though, it is a red X, so I've never actually used her. Achak, use him all the time in Spider and some Doom Tower hard stuff. Tanix, believe it or not, I actually use quite a bit in Hydra. She's actually quite nice for that. So I'm going to give her, you know, to be fair, I'll give her the yellow cross through. Kind of like Umbral, they're very similar. They're really nice on some teams, but not on every team at all. They're somewhat situational. Not super good champion, actually pretty bad champion, but works really well for Hydra. Rian the Conjurer definitely is a yellow strike through. Great champ. Used him, or her. I'm not sure. Used her, I think, in a bunch of Arena teams, but not using right now. Green tick for Mordecai. Use him in Hydra and use him in Spider. Geomancer doesn't need to be said. Green ticks everywhere. Going to put the red strike through Aox. I used him in like a Hydra team or two, but that's it. Not enough for me to give him a point. It's so rare I used him. Rector Drath. Use her all the time. Fantastic champion. Use her in Arena. Use her all the time in Hydra. Every rotation, she is great. Sepulchre Sentinel, I never actually used for anything substantial. Like, she was there and she's a generally good champion, but I didn't need her for Clan Boss, and she didn't do too much for me. This is kind of a funny one. So Basilisk, I do have to give him a red X, but he was absolutely fantastic for Faction Wars and Secret Rooms. But to be fair, I never actually use him anywhere. Same thing with Zargala. Great for some Secret Rooms and Faction Wars, but never used her in any other teams. I'm going to give the yellow strike through to Nazana. I actually used her as a tank, a negative affinity tank for Spider 20, the first time I ever cleared it. I guess a year and a half ago at this point. But I haven't used her since. Husk, use him in Hydra constantly. I actually do use Skull Crusher now a bit for Hydra. I would really, really, really prefer Valkyrie, and I'd really, really, really prefer Martyr, but Skull Crusher is the only counterattack AoE champion I have, so he goes into some Hydra teams. I actually think that Canelia is amazing, but I never use her. Haven't used her yet, but she's fantastic champion. You can do really cool things with her. Great champ. Dark Hale, use him a lot in speed farm dungeons now. This is going to be kind of crazy. Taragi the Frog, I've actually never used for anything. I built him up in theory to use in like Clan Boss and maybe Hydra. I've never actually used him, but he's obviously an amazing champion. I mean, YST is like, he's pulling his hair out right now. He's going, Cornelia and Taragi getting red X's? You absolute madman. What is wrong with you? I'll give the yellow strike through to Duck the Pierced. Used him a bit in Ice Golem, but since then, haven't used him for a long time. Definitely big tick to Ugo. She is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yellow strike through, well deserved for Akoth the Seared. He was my first ever AoE HP burn on my account. So he opened up a whole bunch of spider strategies that I didn't have access to before. Archmage Helmet, likewise going to get a yellow strike through. Absolutely crucial for getting through Doom Tower hard the first several times, though I haven't used him in a good while. But he is absolutely fantastic. It was a massive change to my account. Red X for Dark Elhain. I know that she can be great to counter Torment. I've literally never used her. Green tick for Jareg. Use him for Eternal Dragon. He's pretty crucial. Green tick for Seeker. I've used him. He was my first ever epic. This exact guy, this exact one, first ever epic on my account. Used him everywhere at the start of the game, of course. I still use him right now in my Bat Eater Clan Boss team. Allure, obviously, Dark Fae, Fire Knight, user everywhere. Red X for Gore Grab, got him after Arbiter, so he's only ever been used for Faction Wars. Big yellow strike through for Tayrell, got him early in the game, very early. Yeah, he replaced War Maiden everywhere. He was fantastic. Really good. I mean, I got him at the point where he's already kind of being power creeped, but for me, he was great. Royal Guard, big tick. Most used epic in the game. Got a guide on Royal Guard coming out maybe later today. I'll talk about it more there. I'm going to give the yellow strike through to Magnar. I use him occasionally in some arena teams. I do use him occasionally, but he's really not essential. But it's just my spirit nuker. I mean, I could just put books into Yannicka, but I don't have the books for her right now. So I do actually use Magnar. With Melga, I used her sometimes for some Doom Tower hard bosses. Like I used her on Nether Spider quite a bit for healing, but I haven't used her in a good long while. Vogoth, no question, gets a big green tick. Used him a ton in Arena. I use him. He's crucial for beating Bommel for me. And yeah, he's just a great champion. Stag Knight, believe it or not, for me, Stag Knight gets a red X. Great champion. Really good champion. One of the best epics in the game. But I got him very late, and I've just never used him in any crucial team. Very replaceable. Green tick for Sandlash Survivor. Great champ. I use her in an arena team right now, actually. Go second arena team. It has to be a big yellow strike through for sure for Haikatoon. She was my first speed booster. I didn't get Apothecary until I've been playing for maybe 4, 5, 6 months. So Haikatoon was in loads of teams and she was great. We're going to give a green tick to Deacon. He only barely scrapes it in though. I use him in, just recently started using him for Dark Fae. For farming Dark Fae. Outside of that, he's an amazing champion, but apart from that, I'd never used him. So he was a red X up until about a week ago. About a week ago, to be completely honest. I'm going to give a yellow strike through to Jizzo. He was the biggest red X of them all, right? You get him for what? Playing for a week, 2 weeks? And I'd never used him until the Hydra nerf, where Provoke, and he's actually really good for that. I have to give him a yellow strike through. I'm not using him currently in any team, to be completely transparent and upfront, but when I'm building teams for showcases and stuff, I tell you guys, Jizzo, he comes in clutch. So he's one of my go-tos for building Hydra showcase teams now to lock down Head of Decay. It's going to be a yellow strike through for Steel Skull. This is purely because he was one of my first ever epics, and I used him in Clan Boss for a while. Haven't used him in over a year and a half. Vrask, great champ. Actually, do I use him? Do I use Vrask? I think I do have him on my Eternal Dragon team. He's a great healer. I've certainly used him a ton in the past to just heal. I think he is still my Eternal Dragon team, so he gets a tick. Crimson Helm, one of the biggest disappointments. Got her up purely to solo Bommel, and it's such a pain in the ass that I legit said, you know what? I tried for several hours, and I said, you know what? This is such an awful experience. It's like 30 minutes of manualing straight, and it's boring as hell. And like, I manual Hydra for like an hour. I can put up with manualing stuff in this game. That doesn't bother me. But that was such a miserable experience that I said, screw this. And I put her away, and I just said, it's not even worth beating Bommel. So I came back the next time with Vogoth strategies, Mother Cybele. I didn't mention that Mother Cybele, I used her for soloing Bommel, not soloing, but for doing Bommel 90 hard. Mother Cybele, core to the strategy. Check out the video on the channel. So much more fun. Crimson Helm, just no. You couldn't pay me to use her. Vergis gets a big yellow strike through. Used to solo Scarab with him. Now he's obsolete. Use Painkeeper all the time. Clan Boss team. Strike through for Bellower. Used to use him for Doom Tower Hard as crowd control. No longer. Then we've got big ticks for Cold Hearts. Use them all the time for Dungeons level 20 and for Spider. We obviously got the yellow strike through for War Maiden. Used her at the start of the game, but haven't used her since the start of the game. Same thing with Frozen Banshee. She was a huge part of Clan Boss for me for a long, long time. My best poisoner. That's been replaced now, of course. I don't actually run any poisons on my Clan Boss team. Yellow strike through for Galek, starter champion. Was great, obviously. My most used champion for the first few months of playing. When I pulled Ethos, completely replaced him. Haven't touched him since. Yellow strike through for Armiger. He was, or Armiger, however you say it. He was really good, you know, back in the day as a turn meter control champion. Now it's not relevant at all for me. I tell you, I'm telling a little bit of a lie. I do throw him in a destroy set, and he does one or two. He actually gets maybe 3 or 4 hits off. I put him in, and he gets carried on Scarab Boss. In a destroy set, he gets carried by Mithrala. Mithrala shields protect him, and he gets a few hits on that Scarab Boss before he dies, just to make it go a little bit quicker. But it's not essential at all. Then we've got Geomancer we've already talked about. We've got several Geomancers. My third one, I use all three. It's just God tier. I use Renegade all the time for resetting. Great champion. Haven't used her for anything yet. Ella guys haven't used him for anything. And I haven't used these two guys for anything. They're Secret Room champions. And then Vogoth obviously gets a tick as well. So there we go. There are the epics and the rares. So I would say, actually, compared to the legendaries, we take a broad overview here. I think it's fairly consistent. I wonder, I feel like the epics, that maybe there's more epics that have green ticks proportionately than the legendaries. Almost. It's almost there, which is kind of nuts, like epics and rares. I guess like there's duplicate Geomancers and duplicate Cold Hearts and stuff in there, and that throw it off a little bit. Duplicate Royal Guards and duplicate Shemales. Hydra has definitely improved the epic category, but yeah, not too bad. Guys, there you go. These are all my champions, the ones that I use all the time, the ones that I used to use and were great, and then the ones that were effectively a waste of time. I definitely did not need to build them. If I'd never built them, my progress in the game would really not have been affected at all. I could have absolutely got away with it, no problem. There you go. What do you think? I feel like this is probably one of the most generous lists people will come up with. I doubt many people are going to have as many ticks as me. Maybe there's someone that's super disciplined and super laser focused that only builds champions with a really specific purpose. That has a more generous list, but I feel like I'm actually using a lot of these champions, and a lot of these red X's I don't mind. In fact, a lot of these red X's are champions like Herndig and Sylar, Golden Reap. You know, they're good champions, really good champions. The Pulcher Sentinel, that can be crucial for some people. They can make a massive difference to your account, and it was worth me building them up, especially for the purpose of doing videos, but they just weren't relevant for me on my account. Guys, there you are. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.